Lars always was able to make things happen.
Very quickly, I got invited to hang out with some of his crew and ended up in a place in the Golden Gate Park called Strawberry Hill, where I met Ron Quintana, Ian Callan. It was the beginning of getting to know that crew of people that were all the Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Saxon, Diamond Head, Merciful Fate fanatics.
In Los Angeles, a new heavy metal was beginning to rise.
In December of 1980, a friend of mine and I, who were the only two people, by the way, at the time knew anything about the new wave of British heavy metal, went to see Michael Schenker Group play at a place called the Country Club in Reseda. And after the show, my friend John was in the parking lot, and he saw some kid wearing a Saxon European t-shirt. Now, in 1980, nobody knew who Saxon was in LA, let alone had a European t-shirt. And that, of course, was a kid named Lars Ulrich.
Fast forward to when James and I had the band, one thing led to another, and we started playing in LA.
A year and a half or so later, when I got the idea to do the compilation album, Lars called me up one day and said, if I put together a band, can I be on your album? I'm like, of course, absolutely.
So Lars and me are always talking about doing a magazine. We need a store, man. Let's just start a club and hang out. And Laws, in his way, you know, he was like, oh, that's cool, that's a good idea, man. He showed me a list of his future band or club names. And so he had like generic hot roddy American car names. Thunderbolt, Metal Mania, Metallica. I had a huge list of names.
That ended up being some band that starts with an M. I think it was Metallica that we misspelled on the very first version of the record. Lars always was able to make things happen. Somehow he landed them a gig opening for Saxon. James didn't play guitar, he just sang, and Dave Mustaine played guitar. Their set consisted of Hit the Lights, Blitzkrieg by Blitzkrieg, and about 5 Diamond Head covers, and that was pretty much it.
Metal Mania 5 came out right after Metallica played their very first shows ever. So Lars helped write an article about his show and this great new band, Metallica. He wrote this little article about LA heavy metal and young metal attack Metallica. And this is the very first article ever of Metallica. And of course, it was written by Lars.
But they never really quite fit in with the LA crowd. I was friends with a lot of people in San Francisco. There was a really great scene going on up there. So I was able to put together a Metal Massacre show at the Stone in San Francisco, which was one of the big clubs there. So it was going to be 3 bands from LA, and I called up Lars and said, hey, one of the bands dropped out. We have this gig up in San Francisco. You guys want to do it?
We weren't one of the 3 bigger bands. We weren't even first on the agenda there, but we got invited when somebody canceled.
So we hopped in Ron McGovney's pickup truck with our gear, and off we went with a trailer in the back.
Some of you might have even heard our demo tape.
There's only a handful of people there. I know a lot of people claim to have been there. I was actually given this shirt by their original bass player, Ron McGovney.
And that was the most amazing evening I ever saw, because in LA, they were a bit outcast, nobody knew. And we went up to San Francisco, and that place went crazy.
In September 1982, Metallica played their first show in San Francisco. The reaction was immediate and explosive. My mom didn't let me go.
To San Francisco area with a few other LA bands. Man, it was on.
When they came up to San Francisco and they saw the energy that was involved, and they just wanted to be in that element. And it helped them tremendously, and it helped us grow as a scene in San Francisco and the Bay Area as well.
Some of those people that I had befriended for the previous year or two came, and you felt there was like a scene, a sort of a collection of people that were really fans of the music, which was a really different thing than what was happening in LA at the time. So it was a very surreal, transformative experience for us.
We're all teenagers. They were in a band on stage. We were teenagers in the crowd. And, you know, at the time, Metallica were doing Diamond Head covers. You know, one of those bands we didn't think anybody else knew about. And when they launched into the Prince, that's where the bond with that band and the Bay Area happened. If you know that band, you're a brother. That was the switch.
Yeah, I remember that first show, seeing fans that didn't care what they looked like. I mean, they had cut off denims and stuff. They didn't care. And they were at the front of the stage headbanging because the music did that for them. They weren't gathered around the bar scene or anything. They were there for the music.
Metallica's legendary demo cassette, No Life Till Leather, was recorded in the summer of 1982. It immediately became a staple of the tape trading underground and established the band as a force to be reckoned with.
First, we did a 4-song demo called Power Metal, and then the infamous No Life Till Leather tape came a couple months after. I just started sending it to all the same people that I'd been trading some of this other underground metal stuff with, like the KJ Doughtons of the world.
Oh my God, this tape is amazing. It just crushes. It's unbelievable. They've come so far. And I sent Brian the first Metallica demo, and I think that's the first taste he got of it.
While working at the club, one of my coworkers had started to do a Monday night event called Metal Monday, and these bands that later became thrash were presented, and it was clear this was a new direction.
Maybe a couple months later, I was talking to Lars. I said, do you know any good bass players out there? And I said, well, there's this band from San Francisco with this amazing bass player named Cliff Burton. I saw them as a troubadour a while ago, coming down and playing again. You guys should come. So Lars was like, okay, cool. The show happens. Lars and James are there. And I don't know how far into the set, but it was pretty early. Maybe the second or third song, Lars goes to me, that's gonna be our bass player.
Cliff represented the Bay Area. He represented a freedom. He represented a freakness that I didn't know so much growing up in LA.
Cliff would be talking to somebody on the phone and just talk. And this went on for, oh, golly, I swear a month. And so finally I said to Jan, who's Cliff talking to on the phone so much? And she said, well, there's a band from Los Angeles that wants him to join them. And Cliff had said, no, I'm not going to go down to LA. He said, I told him, if you guys want me to join your band, you come up to the Bay Area, and by golly, here they did.
Then one day, Bailoff called me up and said, that guy, Cliff Burton, bass player for Trauma, he's in Metallica now. And I said, no fucking way. And then I saw them at the Stone, you know, Cliff's first gig at the Stone, and I was just like,
I think we felt kind of out of it because we were the only band on the East Coast that wanted to do something like this. And we thought it was so cool that in the Bay Area, there was this kind of club of these type of bands that were gigging around and just making music. And I remember Exodus being one of the first bands, besides Metallica, that I thought were fucking great.
I just started getting the tape out there. And then we started getting, you know, some good response, and you know, eventually this tape ended up in the hands of Johnny Z.
Around that time, we were meeting with Johnny Z in New Jersey, giving him demos. He was bringing a band from San Francisco to come over.
Johnny Z, he came down to the house with a demo tape, which was No Life Till Leather. We were blown away.
Metallica were always ahead of us and the other bands. You know, they were always 6 months to a year ahead of us. They came out with Kill 'Em All before any other band had their records out. I think Kill 'Em All really set the tone for what was gonna come.
Started hanging out with Exodus, and Kurt was definitely very musically gifted, and he was also very up for whatever was going on.
Yeah, Kirk and I were at this party. He's like, hey man, come here. Mark Whitaker just called me. They want me to audition for Metallica.
You know, it was like a passing of the torch, you know, like Kurt giving me the keys to the family car, you know, and saying, here, it's yours now. Don't blow it up.
At Archer Festival, I'd called Lars if he wanted to open up for my festival, because I thought it was a great band. And I just, you know, sent him money for plane tickets and stuff.
It definitely made a big impression. You could already tell that these guys were going to go somewhere. Everybody knew. I mean, we all knew.
Some old black and white pictures of Metallica at that show. They were so nervous there around that time to do the show.
Even though, you know, they were away, they were still part of the scene. You heard that the band was blowing people away just like they did when they started here.
Lars said no, we didn't have the cover. It was just Kirk on there.
Tapes were being copied the next day, and they were sent to Germany, Belgium, France, all over the world.
It wasn't really until James started getting some European shows under his belt in the spring of 1984, where he started being able to sort of command the big European crowds. That's when he became James Hetfield, the frontman.
This was certainly not the shy kid that was in high school hating life. This was the kid that finally found his voice and got to be in a band that was able to help express it for him.
The thing that maybe has become the misconception over the years about the tape trading network is we weren't dubbing albums. We were dubbing live bootlegs. You know, at that time, part of being a music fan then is you wanted to own the record. You wanted to own the 7-inch single because it made you feel part of something bigger.